I'd like to welcome Mark van Leewarden to the program this morning. He's had a book published by Quentin Wilson called Crime Time, From Undercover Cop to International Investigator, The True Tales of a Kiwi Crime Fighter. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Good morning, Terry. I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, look, what a book. From woe to go. It's an intriguing life you've lived, and I don't think you're that old, so you've managed to pack a lot in.
Seemingly,
yeah. Now, would you become a policeman today if you had a choice?
Maybe not. It's a different world now.
Yeah.
Probably, maybe not.
Yeah. Okay, and another question while we're still on that. What are the words you would use that mean most to a policeman? Thinking back to your early days when you were, a cop on the beat, if you like.
Integrity.
Yep. Compassion, empathy, anything, or not so?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, that sort of follows as part of that, I think, innately. It's a different world then to what it is now. And I think it's better in terms of the relationship just between people generally, not just with the police.
Yeah. Yeah, I got really rattled by the court case of where the fellow shot the policeman and was sitting behind him when this policeman was giving his story, and the guy was just, and I thought, that guy shouldn't even be in the picture, I was just, anyway, there's so many things on news these days that upset me, but that's just me. Now, the question, I suppose, what did you leave behind of yourself after going undercover for a year?
You don't really know what you leave behind. There's a personality alteration that takes place over that period, and in many ways it's other people that observe that change.
Yes.
But certainly you lose, I was 20, so, and most of the people I was running with were 10 years older than me, and I suppose once I'd reflected on it after doing it, it's like that 10 years of your life had evaporated, so you'd lost your 20s.
Yes. Yeah, it's not, I haven't actually got this question in there, but just how hard was it? I mean, it's obviously a challenge, but I mean, is it as hard as it really is?
Yeah, it is hard. It is. You don't know when you're going in there what it's going to be like. It's an possibly uninformed consent, really. You don't know, and neither do those that are putting in there know what it's going to be like. So you don't really understand till you're out there. And of course, in order to survive, you need to adopt a criminal persona.
Yeah.
So there's a maelstrom of thoughts and things happen to you. It's like an enforced split personality.
Yep.
Yeah. So it is hard. Yeah.
And I just, when you were writing and telling the story, I just thought, well, I know for a fact that I certainly couldn't have done it. I mean, because I'm not that type of person that can change. I just thought it was just be so very, very hard. So then the next question was, how hard was the decision to leave the police and set up your own business?
Well, the circumstances conspired against me in terms of leaving the police.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be a good thing for me. And once I'd sort of shaken all of that down and turned to an academic path.
Yeah.
I always thought that the fusion of investigation and law was going to be a good thing for the future. There was no market then, like there is now, investigating lawyers, etc. And as it turned out, it treated me really well, and I just worked on some wonderful cases and had some amazing experiences after that as well.
Yes. As Auckland, does it have a lot of private investigators? I mean, is that the Sin City of New Zealand, if you like?
Yeah, there are quite a few. There are not so many that are in the area which is it's mine's essentially the practice of law, specialising in investigation.
Yeah, no, it's certainly an interesting life, that was for sure. Now, another question that sort of hit at me when I was reading it: do you lose your ability to trust people, or can you judge a person straight off?
You certainly have. You're certainly way more cautious regarding people. And one thing that you do take away from that, some negatives, but one of the positives is that you can assess people and situations.
Yeah.
And that certainly serve me well later on in business, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially if your life depends on it, you must have to get really sharp or it's just too late.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but you develop... it must have worked all right, whatever it was. But
Yeah.
And other agents would have experienced that too, where you get... It's some sort of other sense that you get, which is a danger assessment type tool, and it's not only the situation but the people that you're dealing with.
Yeah, yes, that's it. Yeah. Now, how did you decide that now was the time to write your book? Because I get the feeling that there's still a lot in your business once we forget and get rid of this COVID stuff. How or was this something because you're in lockdown? It's something to do.
Well, I wasn't even going to write a book. It happened the way it happened was about 6 years ago. Alan Duff of Once Were Warriors fame had seen an article about me, came to me and said, could he write a book about my adventures? And I said yes, and so we got together, chewed the fat, and then he went away to write the book. But he came back and said that he couldn't do it because it needed my voice, and said to me, well, why don't you write it? So I actually didn't think I could do it, but he encouraged me, supported me, and crime time as a result. Yeah,
good stuff. Good stuff. Now, being an international investigator, it sort of sounds like a television sort of picture. However, I'm guessing it's anything but. Would that be right?
No, it actually is. It actually is like that.
Oh, okay.
It's like that. Sometimes when I've been crossing the border from Austria to Hungary, armed and meeting with organised crime units, etc., and it's like a snapshot out of a movie. And in fact, one time we're in one of those Audi A8s, and it reminded me of one of those movies, like Ronin or something, screaming around.
And do you sort of have to be behind the wheel or something, thinking, hang on, this could not end nice or well because this is real? Do you sort of have to go, take an extra breath?
Yeah, I mean, so you might have those sort of feelings of elation in that, but underlying it is always the risk. And when I was in the UC program, it's just yourself that the risk attaches to. But later on in life, and your children, that say dealing with the Russian mafia or international organised crime, that they're not going to have a go at you. They'll have a go at your family. So that's always a constant sort of fear. But then the other way is, since sort of 20, that's been the life that our family's been involved with.
Yeah. It must put a lot of strain in the family. Dad's away undercover or in somewhere in Zurich dealing with these money people. We hope we don't bump into anybody that we shouldn't do on the street. I mean, how do you put yourself in that situation where it's a daily thing?
Well, I have the perfect wife, so that helps.
Now, I didn't know if you had got a sense of humour, and I still don't know at this stage, because there was a line in the book that said 35 happy years of marriage, and being the type of a perverse person I am, I said, is there such a thing? I mean, I love my wife dearly, but I wouldn't have put 35 happy years, and that's exactly how many years we've been married, is 35 years, and not all of them have been happy. Do you find that your 35 years are happy?
Yep. Yeah, they've all been happy. Wonderfully happy.
Well done, you. Maybe you need to write a book for people that are perverse. I mean, maybe it's just life. I don't know. I mean, maybe I've got the wrong outlook here. Anyway, having your family as members of your company, is that a plus or a minus?
It's definitely a plus in a confidence type business like investigation.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that, because that trust obviously is implicit, and that's really what you need in dealing with tricky matters. We need to be careful about making sure the boundaries are right.
Yes, when I was reading that bit where you're saying people's code names and stuff like that when you're in the family, and I thought, I just thought it's an interesting dynamic to a family. It's almost like a family circus, I suppose. He says, thinking on the hoof, where not everybody's going to be in that situation. Yeah,
it is. So that's the other thing. And when Alan approached me and spoke to me, I said, my view was, well, this is nothing sort of out of the ordinary, particularly extraordinary, because that's just the way we live, you know. And he dispelled me of that
Yes.
concept.
And I mean, anybody reading this book is going to, you know, it's a different family. You know, you really are. And that it's worked out so well, and that you've got 35 years of happy marriage, which I think is splendid, and you've got family working for you. I mean, the thought of my wife and I working together, we've thrown that away a long time ago. I mean, we love each other, but working together is probably not top of our... if not a policeman, what do you think you might have done if you hadn't joined the force?
No, I'm not sure, Terry.
It's happened. And
It's certainly that this has been so fulfilling, this career, and just going back to the wife, I mean, you know, I met my wife and worked with her on a VIP protection squad, so we were bodyguards together. So, and she would be the one that I would back the most to pull the trigger when it was needed. Some other guys might take a backward step, but she never would. So that's a good foundation to take forward. Unless I crossed her, of course.
That's the one. I didn't want to bring that up because my wife, when we're out, you know, I mean, you're wonderful, just lovely lady, you know, and she says, oh no, when we married, it was till death do us part. And they go, oh, that's nice. And she says, and that can always be arranged. And that kind of stops the party. Because people don't know whether she's being funny or whether she really means it. And after 35 years, I'm still wondering. In 1983, you were 23 and the youngest police constable to qualify as a detective. Was that too young to be a detective, or were you up for the challenge?
It was actually quite hard because once you're qualified as a detective and you're at a scene, whatever it is, and then I was in crime card, so you're the first police member on the scene of whatever it is. It might be a murder or could be, you know, robbery. And you, as the detective, are expected to take charge of that scene ahead of all the other uniformed police that are there. So that was hard at the beginning, but you just learn from experience to get to grips with it.
And you seem to have bumped into a nice bunch of people, or good bunch of people, shall I say, in the force, and they've given you their, you know, some of the people you've worked with in the force were legends in their own lifetime, and to be able to pick up part of that, I think that's a big plus in policing, I think. Yeah, and there were so many good guys that I worked with in the CIB when I first went in there, and I learned so much from them, down to the fact of even listening to how they would conduct themselves on telephone calls and when they were at scenes and dealing with witnesses. You pick the best parts that you saw and try and use them yourself. Yeah, and I think that reflects on yourself too, that you've picked up the best bits from the best and turned it into a great career. I got the impression by reading that as a young policeman, it was a life of, it was a lad's life, booze and young woman. Was this the life for most police at the time on the force, like the early 80s or thereabouts? I can't speak for everyone, but we had a good time. Yeah, it certainly sounded. When I was reading, I was thinking, okay, that's cool, yeah, that's cool. Do you think it's changed? Oh, undoubtedly it's changed. I mean, so the attitude there towards women that I expressed in the book was at that time. And I'm grateful for my daughter's sake that it's not like that anymore. Yeah. So. Yeah, that would be a tough one. Yeah, look, I've come up with all the questions. I enjoyed the book immensely. I did. It's a great read, and I like just talking to you now. You seem to have come out okay on the other side, because it has not exactly been a bowl of cherries, has it? No, fortunately, I've seen some guys that haven't. Yeah. And that's very sad. And I wrote this book as well as a testament to agents that have gone before me and came after me. I'm lucky that I've had a privileged and great life. Long may it continue. Yeah, absolutely. Because another book, do you think? Or was it too hard? I'm sort of halfway through a crime novel. That was my next question. Yes. Yeah. I was thinking, because the way you've written this one, I just thought, I like crime novels, and I'm just thinking, There's a potential here that, in between jetting off and a lot of those, and this is not a planned question, I'm just thinking that some of the people that you talked about in the book, in the Money Game, they were really ratbags, and that's putting it really, 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 really nicely, because they didn't seem to have any compunction or compulsion or anything for doing that and stealing off people, and just thought, if I got caught, I was expecting that. And I thought, well, why start it? But, you must...
Yeah, those guys in many ways are a lot worse than the old school street type criminals who had a sort of a code.
Yeah.
Those guys don't have any code, and then they cry and whine when they're caught.
Yeah.
They don't actually think they're committing crime. So they are interesting to deal with because of the makeup and complexity of the thought process that allows them to operate like that.
Yeah. And one thing that if I'd lived your life, the one thing that I couldn't do was relax. You do mention that you've found ways to relax. Like, you're not sort of looking for criminals underneath your bed or things like that. It would do your head in if you thought that way, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you need an outlet.
Yeah.
I've been involved in motorcycles and racing and off-road racing in Mexico, etc. So that's sort of the other side of that, I suppose.
And good friends. I think everybody needs somebody good to talk to. And
exactly.
Yeah. Look, Mark, it's been a fascinating time, and I'm sure if I carried on, I could think of all sorts of other questions I'd want to ask. But the book is a great read, and it really gives your background, and I think that's a wonderful thing to be able to do that in a book, and to know that you're thinking about writing a crime novel. I think that's pretty exciting too. So we might talk again when the book comes out. I'd like to do that. And
thanks very much for that.
It's all right, Mark. It's been good. I really appreciate it. And as I say, a fine book, and Quentin's done well in publishing it, because he's a very interesting person, and he's published some wonderful books. And I just think this is a really nice canon, to his work. It's you've got a good team there.
Thanks. Yeah, he's been great. Quentin's been fantastic.
Oh, good. Yeah, I just wondered, and then I just kept writing, and then, of course, all the other ones in between, and I thought, I need to ask this. I'm just nosy, basically. But anyway, it's been great talking to you, and I love that 35 happy years of marriage is a real thing. I think that's terrific, really terrific. All right, next time, Mark, all the very best.
Thanks very much, Terry.
Okay, thanks, bye-bye.